Welcome, foolish mortals, to the Haunted Mansion.
On this week's episode, we're joined by James H. Carter II to talk about our top 5 IPs we want to see at Halloween Horror Nights. You're listening to episode 108 of the Theme Park Duo podcast.
Prepare yourselves for an unforgettable encounter.
Hi, and welcome to the Theme Park Duo podcast. Grab your park map, churro, and hop in line with us as we take you on a coast-to-coast adventure through the world of theme parks, haunts, conventions, and more. Now, here's your hosts, Nikki and Gabriel.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Theme Park Duo podcast. I'm Nikki.
And I'm Gabe.
And we are the Theme Park Duo.
We have a fun episode lined up for you guys today. We are joined by James H. Carter II from Creepy Kingdom to talk about our top 5 list of IPs that we want to see at Halloween Horror Nights.
Yeah.
This is a sequel. This is the revenge episode. You know what I mean? You know, like the semicolon, the revenge. You get what I'm saying here? You're picking up one down. So we had James on surprisingly 3 years ago to do this segment, and we finally got around to doing a part 2.
Yeah.
Which it was funny because a lot of those things that we actually had on our list came true. I don't know if Universal Creative is listening or not, but maybe they are.
Maybe.
Who knows? Who knows?
Hello out there if you're listening. Hi, big fans.
Yes, we are. So we have that fun topic waiting for you in this episode. If you guys are enjoying the nonsense that we have going here, make sure you head on over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star written review. It always helps us out. It's a free way of supporting the show, and it makes it easier for everybody to find us and enjoy us like you are right now. We actually have some very exciting news to share, but we're going to save that for the end of the episode. So we're going to leave a little bit of a cliffhanger there for everybody at the top of the episode here. So make sure you stay tuned at the end for that exciting news. But before we jump into today's episode, we have a little bit of news that we want to cover today in the Theme Park Bulletin. Okay, so first up in the Theme Park Bulletin, actually some news that dropped today as of this recording, which today is Friday, May 28th. This is actually some very big news out of Universal Orlando Resort, and they have updated their safety guidelines. So it says, in accordance with the CDC guidelines, face coverings are no longer required for fully vaccinated guests indoors or outdoors. While we do not require proof of vaccination, we do expect those who are not fully vaccinated to wear coverings while indoors. We encourage all guests to keep a safe distance between travel parties, and we remain focused on maintaining the highest cleanliness and sanitation standards. Here are the latest safety updates for your visit. Face coverings are no longer required for fully vaccinated guests. We do not require proof of vaccinations. Guests who are not fully vaccinated are still expected to wear face coverings while indoors. We encourage all guests to keep safe distance between travel parties. We remain focused on maintaining blah, 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 all the same stuff all over again. So, I think that when people read this, I think there was an immediate and, in my opinion, a fair amount of nervousness and hesitation towards this news, simply based on the fact that I think nobody at this point trusts a single other soul to follow the rules.
Let's be honest here. There was probably one of 2 reactions. Yay! Or,
Pretty much. I mean, and there's definitely a variation of those 2 things, because we're in the boat of cool progress, but also slightly nervous that people who are not getting the vaccine purposefully and who are against vaccines are now, and also anti-mask, are now going to be going and potentially putting other people in danger.
Because come on, like, the honor system isn't going to work here. Nobody's going to wear a mask.
I don't have faith in people to follow the rules, especially after the last year or 2.
People are not going to wear a mask. Like, everyone you see in the parks that's still wearing a mask, it's probably vaccinated people who are just trying to be extra safe.
And that's going to be us. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
And the thing that it really comes down to is, if somebody wants to wear a mask still, let them. Who cares? Yeah. What is it hurting you?
Yeah.
Let them wear a mask if it lets them feel a little bit safer about their visit. Because guess what? That's going to be us. Yep. We're still going to be wearing masks. You know, it makes us feel more comfortable. So what does it matter? But also, I think at this point, you know, people are asking the question, and I think it's a fair question to ask, or at least pose, is saying, what does it matter if people are getting vaccinated and these people are now showing up without vaccinations or masks? What does it matter if people are vaccinated? They're protected. I think at this point, it's about the people who haven't been able to get one, or kids. And
Yeah.
if you're going to assume that a theme park is not going to have kids in it, I think you're a little mistaken. Now, whether or not the question is, should parents be taking kids to a theme park with no masks and all these problems and they're not be able to be vaccinated yet, is a whole nother topic in and out of itself that I don't think is necessarily fair to bring into this conversation. Because guess what? There's going to be kids there regardless. And so my concern is that, little kids are going to get sick because people are not going to mask up if they should.
Not even little kids, anyone under 12.
Pretty much anyone, kids under 12, at least in California, have been able to get vaccinated.
No, 12 and older.
12 and older. Oh, yeah. 12 and under. Yeah,
so those
totally
11-year-olds, SOL.
Yeah, you're SOL. Sorry, kid.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So there obviously is a little bit of a concern that people aren't going to be listening to the rules. And I don't particularly trust the honor system. And the reason why is because there is no blockade, if you will, to keep people from doing this. Now, if you had some sort of system where you had to prove vaccination to get in, at least there's some form of deterrent against people from coming in without a mask and just kind of doing it. Obviously people are falsifying those vaccination records and that happens, and we know that, we get that. But I think at this point, because they're legally not allowed to ask for a vaccination card, they are kind of put into the situation. But I am curious why they lifted the mask mandate in general if their hand was forced into not being able to ask for the vaccination card, because that was a law passed by Governor DeSantis over in Florida.
It might just be a want to return to normal faster.
Yeah, it's just curious why. So
I don't know. Maybe they're the guinea pigs for everyone else. I don't know. But
yeah, I don't know.
I would be so happy if there was like a situation where it was proof of vaccination, or if you don't want to provide that proof, because like legally you don't think you should have to, then take a rapid test.
Yeah, a rapid test. That'd be totally fine.
I'd be so happy with that. Like one or the other.
That would totally back up lines if they're doing rapid tests. But
there'd be if you choose not to show the vaccination card because of your rights, then you have to wait in the line for the rapid test. You have to put you and your party in the slowpoke line, because you choose not to be vaccinated, or you choose not to be forced to show your vaccine card.
Yeah.
So I think it should be separate line, separate entrance, whatever. I feel like for the safety of everyone, it should be mandatory. But
there should be some sort of system to ensure that guest safety is at the utmost importance, especially when it comes to this kind of stuff, because there's variants, there's things like that. Recently I looked up whether or not the vaccine is effective against variants, and some of it is very, very effective, 93 to 96% effective. So that's great.
Yeah.
That calms my nerves big time. I stopped double masking. I went to a single mask.
Yeah.
But I'm just concerned that there will be a point where there will be enough unvaccinated people where another problem will arise and we'll kind of take 10 steps backwards, which is not what I want. Nobody wants that.
Yeah.
So, we'll see how it goes. Yeah. This is a big piece of news, so we'll see how everything goes. I'm crossing my fingers. Trust me, we don't want things to go bad. We want them to go good and go forward. So
we want to go in October.
Yeah, right. We already have everything bought.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's that piece of news. Take it as you will. Regardless of kind of what your position on is, that's the information. But moving on, next piece of news is coming from Disneyland, which Disneyland has announced that it will reopen to guests from outside of California on June 15th, the weekend after we go.
Yep.
The same day the state is targeting for its full reopening from coronavirus pandemic closures. The theme park announced the reopening in a tweet Wednesday afternoon and told out-of-state visitors that they could begin booking tickets immediately. According to a news release on Disney Parks blog, all guests will be required to wear an improved face covering through their visits at the Disneyland Resort, which, by the way, that doesn't include the valved masks.
Yeah.
So make sure you look at the website and look at what the approved masks are, because I've seen people get turned away with the valved masks. Just FYI. Mm-hmm. The release also cited State of California guidance recommending all guests to either be fully vaccinated or obtain a negative COVID test prior to visiting. Now, those things aren't required. It's just saying you should do that.
Yeah.
So, but at least the mask mandate is still there. From all accounts, it sounds like Disneyland is pretty good at it. But when we go, I'm almost 100% certain it's going to be like Universal or, Knott's, where we see 90% of people wearing masks, 5% people wearing it under their nose, and the other 5% wearing it while they're walking around eating.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. I've grown accustomed to that. It doesn't bother me. I'm fully vaccinated. Totally fine. I just look at them and say, judging.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah. That's all it is now.
You're not listening to the rules. I don't like you.
I judge you.
I judge
it's
you.
just it's what we've always done. Now we just have something else to do it on.
Silently judge.
Silently
I'm like that dog from The Simpsons where they zoom in really close and he has shifty eyes where he just like looks back and forth. I'm like that. But our last piece of news is something that's pretty exciting, and also through the Twitterverse, Diz Twitter for a loop. And this is all about the new Spider-Man Webslingers attraction that's opening up at Disney's California Adventure next week as of today's recording. And it was news that it will be utilizing the virtual queue system similar to Rise of the Resistance. And not only that, but there will be some merchandise you can get that will enhance your visit to Web. So when Avengers Campus opens on June 4th, 2021 at Disney California Adventure Park, you'll be able to team up with your family and friends in an ensemble with Earth's mightiest heroes throughout a collection of attractions, encounters, and missions. What better way to gear up for this epic adventure to embrace your inner superhero than with a first look at the all-new merchandise coming to Avengers Campus? And better yet, some of these new products will be coming first to Disneyland Resort Backlot Premiere Shop featuring Avengers Campus, Disney Plus, and superhero products on May 29th before arriving at Web Suppliers and the Avengers Campus Supply Pod inside Avengers Campus on June 4th. Now there's one super thing we haven't shared yet. While everyone will be able to sling webs on the attraction for first time ever on a Disney Parks attraction, you'll be able to customize your experience aboard Webslingers, the Spider-Man adventure, with web, tech, and accessories. Yes, you read that correctly. When you gear up, you'll be able to find your own powers and get a different experience aboard the attraction. As a refresher, on Webslingers, a Spider-Man adventure, you'll don 3D glasses and a test drive of an aspiring inventor's latest invention, the Webslinger vehicle, and discover your web-slinging superpowers. Through specially designed innovative technology that requires body movements, pretty much Ninjago, and gestures, you'll reach out your hands and sling webs from your wrists, just like Spider-Man. First, your power up with a web power band. These base band features an attraction mode that unlocks multi-fire webs across Webslingers' Spider-Man adventure to personalize the gameplay for cool new experience on the attraction. Then you can find your own powers and add on web tech inspired by some favorite superheroes including Spider-Man, Ghost Spider, Iron Man, and Rescue to your web power bands. As seen above, web tech can change your powers on the attraction to those inspired by fan favorite superheroes of Spider-Man and Ghost Spider with electrodynamic webs to the Iron Man and Rescue with repulsor blasts. Spider-Man and Ghost Spider inspired web shooters change your powers to electrodynamic webs on the attraction and at home feature lights, sounds, projections, and webs that eject and retract. Iron Man and Rescue inspired repulsor cannons change your powers to repulsor blasts on the attraction and at home. They also light up and blast air while you practice your repulsor powers with training spheres. So I think the explosion on the Twitterverse was the requirement for the Rise of the Resistance thing and the power up.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the power up first. Now people freaked out because they pretty much said it's a play to win. I completely disagree.
Yeah.
And here's why. And tell me if you agree with me or not. So play to win or pay to win, at least in the video game verse, is like you're paying a certain amount of money for extra features that enhance your ability to win a certain game that you're playing online against people, blah, 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 blah. In this scenario, you're buying a toy accessory that you use at home or on the ride that it sounds like at times may enhance your shooting ability, but really just changes the way it looks as well.
Yeah.
And I don't personally believe that that is going to change people's experience on it when it's mostly just going to be you and your friends. You know, never have I ever been on Toy Story Midway Mania and been yelling at some stranger that I don't know about who's beating me. You know, the competition is between family. And I mean, you're going to have a kid who sees like another family with these repulsor things or the Spider-Man edition, you know, and it's like, oh, Mom, I want that.
Yeah.
Well, of course, that's the whole ploy with kids and stuff and getting people to want to buy it. That's part of the experience.
Yeah.
But if one person has it in your group, it's going to make you want to buy it too.
Exactly.
But then if you're on it and you're playing it, you're still going to have fun regardless.
Yeah.
So I don't personally think that this is something that's going to incredibly affect the attraction. Now, with that being said, it is completely all speculative. Nobody knows yet. Nobody's been on the attraction to say
if it actually enhances your gameplay.
Incredibly blows people out of the water. Oh my God, you have crazy powers where you get billions of points and nobody else could even catch it. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
As of right now, nobody knows.
Yeah.
So it's all speculative. So personally, I don't think it's a huge deal. I think it's actually really cool because, unlike a Harry Potter or at least a Wizarding World where you have a wand, you could still ride this attraction without the addition and still have fun.
Yeah.
With the wands, you have to have a wand in order to do the wand magic tricks and wand experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, your friend could just hand it over to you and you could do it, but that's not the point. The point is if you do not buy one, or if your friend doesn't buy one, you can't do it.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of a difference there in that. And people are trying to compare those two things. I think they're very different.
They are.
I mean, imagine going on Forbidden Journey or Hagrid's Magical Creature Motorcycle Adventure or Gringotts and having your wand and having that interact with the attraction. Now, that would be awesome.
That'd be so cool.
That's like this.
Yeah.
But it's not like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what do you think?
I don't want to sound too harsh. But
give the harshness, Nikki. People love it when you're spicy.
Everyone stop your freaking whining. Like, it's a game. It's a game that you were playing on a ride against, 5-year-olds. You know what? And this tech...
But, Nikki, I want to win against a 5-year-old
that's
by
the thing.
a lot.
This tech is aimed at them. Do you really think that this web-slinger thing is going to give them the edge over a full-grown adult who's been playing video games for years? No.
And I don't think that there's going to be a lot of groups of people who have one person in their group who's that serious about it to the point where they're going to do all the upgrades and try to blow everybody out of the water. Yes, there's always going to be competition.
Yeah.
There's always going to be competition. That's the fun part about these attractions. But I honestly don't think that there's going to be one person who's going to just completely ruin everybody's experience.
No. And it's what does it matter? There's always that person who always wins. It's like whenever I go with Gabe, he's gonna beat me every time. It's not like I'm crying. It's a game. Is your day really made or broken by whether you get the high score on Toy Story Midway Mania? I mean, maybe, but it's like, come on,
I got a deer and I wanted a bear, damn it.
Big picture. Come on, guys.
Well,
just have fun.
Now that we're talking about days made or broken by one particular thing, that's kind of a good segue into the next kind of piece of information, and that is the virtual reservation system like Rise of the Resistance. So essentially, if everybody, if for some reason you're not in the know, Rise of the Resistance, brand new attraction that opened at Disneyland Hollywood Studios. Really, really popular. People wanted to ride it like crazy. So they implemented a virtual queue system where you have to go on your phone at park opening and click on it and reserve a place. And if you don't get one, you don't get to ride the ride. Sucks, but you don't get to ride the ride.
Yeah.
So now they're implementing that into the Spider-Man attraction. Now, the difference here is that now that we've kind of gone a little bit farther away from the opening of Rise of the Resistance, they've done it twice now. So they're going to have it at park opening, and they're going to have... So I think it's 7 o'clock a.m. They're going to have one at noon. So there's 2 drawings to be able to ride Rise of the Resistance and Spider-Man. Yeah. Webslingers, or whatever it's called. Spider-Man Adventures, Webslingers, Butt Blast. I don't know. So you're going to have 2... That's the semicolon underneath all of it.
That's another
Webslingers and Spider-Man Adventure Butt Blast. Is that a different ride? Is that a completely different ride? I think I'm confused.
Yeah, there's also different tech for that ride too. You don't want to know.
What's the tech for asshole blasters? I mean Astro Blasters, sorry. Astro Blasters. Sorry, Astro Blasters. I misspoke. My apologies.
Okay, whatever. Keep going. Awkward tangent over.
I totally lost it. No. So now you have 2 opportunities to get onto what is called the Web Slingers of Spider-Man Adventure. And if you don't get it, you don't get the ride. So a lot of people are upset, saying that the system isn't fair. If you don't get it, it's not fair. Here's my 2 cents. And Nikki, once again, let me know what you think of my opinion, or if you disagree or agree.
Oh, I'll let you know.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm fully aware of that. I don't even have to tell me, because you're going to tell me regardless. Anyway, I personally think that outside of a complete random lottery or a straight queue, that this is probably the most fair way of being able to get on the ride. Now, a lot of people, which I think I would include myself in this, would prefer just having a queue, and if you want to wait in the queue, then you want to wait in the queue and then you get to ride the ride. If you don't want to ride the ride, then don't wait in that long queue. Or if there's a random lottery to do it and they just assign it to people without your pretty much power into it at all or ability to do anything, just like they do in Asian parks and Disney parks, across in the other countries. But I don't think people would like that either, because it completely takes the power away from them. So to me, this is the most fair. Yes, there are going to be, X factors in terms of, someone's carrier, or internet connections, or, older people who have older phones or something, people who are handicapped or something, who don't have the ability to go on the phone and do those things. And I think also when it comes to groups, you have a group of like 5 friends have technically a better chance of getting a spot than if there was 2 parents and a whole bunch of kids. The argument that I had there, though, is that the chances of, even though your chance goes up when you have more people doing it, it doesn't decrease the chances of everyone else. Still, everybody has, starts at an equal playing level. So I personally think it's fine. It is what it is. If you don't get on the attraction, yeah, that sucks. But it shouldn't ruin your entire trip. If you're visiting Disneyland and you're saying to yourself, if I don't get on this one single attraction, it ruins my entire visit, I think you're doing it wrong. Yeah. I think hands down you're doing it wrong, because you're setting yourself up for disaster, especially with a brand spanking new attraction like this or Rise of the Resistance, where there's a chance that you're not going to be able to ride it. For a chance that that's not going to happen. You're setting yourself for disaster. But, there are hundreds of attractions to do at Disneyland. Literally hundreds of attractions to do at Disneyland. Regardless of whether or not it's an Indiana Jones adventure, Rise of the Resistance, a show, a bar, a place to eat, watching some characters, things like that. There's so much to do. And to pretty much put the weight of your entire vacation on that one experience, I think isn't necessarily fair for you or for anybody else who's visiting. So that's kind of my 2 cents. I understand that, for people who don't get to go on it because of this, because you can't just wait in a line, it sucks. And I fully expect when we go that we're not going to be able to ride it. I'm fully expecting us to not be able to ride it. But guess what? Great part about all of this is ride isn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
You're going to be able to go on it next time you come. The only people I feel bad for are the people who probably a once in a lifetime visit. Those are the only people I feel really bad for. But even with that, they still get Disneyland.
I don't feel
they
bad.
They still get the food. They still get the shows. They still get the other rides. It's just this one thing.
Okay, you've had your turn.
Sorry.
I don't feel bad for anyone. And just like before, stop your whining. It's just a ride. You're gonna have a great day. There's so much to do. It's a fair shot for everyone to get it this way, as fair as it could possibly be without an actual queue. And like, what's the difference between this virtual queue that you may or may not get and the one day you visit, the ride being broken down for the whole day?
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Yeah.
Are you going to go cry to customer service and try to get your money back for that?
People do that.
Some people probably do.
That.
People, I'm talking to you. Stop it. Stop it.
Well, somebody also was making the argument like, how's it fair when you only have 30 seconds to do it? I'm like, because everyone has 30 seconds. I don't get a minute. Yeah. You get 30 seconds. We all get 30 seconds.
And you know what? And technically, it's even better than when Rise opened initially, because now you get 2 chances. You get a chance midday. And I know people are going to say, well, but what if I want to go to the other park? Then
you're going to have to make that decision.
You make the decision.
You have to make it.
Is this ride that you are whining and complaining about it not being fair, that you need to go on it so desperately bad, is that ride worth it for you to spend the second half of your day in California Adventure also? then miss Disneyland. If the answer is yes, then stay and try to get it. And I know some people start at Disneyland and then go over to California Adventure. I'm not talking about you. You only have one chance. Good luck. But it's a weird time. I know, like, pass holders are a thing of the past, so it's not like you can come back for now. So it's not like you can just come back the next day and do it again, So I understand that. I understand the stakes are higher right now, but I think everyone just needs to realize that it's a weird time. We're lucky the park is open at all. Just cool it.
No, I think you have a very valid point there in saying, like, right now it isn't perfect. Oh, there's kids screaming outside. I hope you all could hear that.
I don't think the window's fully closed.
Oh, probably not. That's totally fine. They were happy screams. Don't worry. Happy screams are going on outside. They weren't terrified screams. But no, I think you have a very valid point, and I think that it is just a really weird time right now. I am glad that the parks are open, albeit, they've upped capacity and not upped capacity for attractions, it seems. But I'm just happy that it's open. I'm happy that we're getting back to normalcy. I mean, the situation isn't perfect, nor do I think that it's going to be perfect when it comes to this, if they continue to use it. I just think that this is the best way of doing it, other than having a 8-hour-long line running down, Buena Vista Street for an attraction.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen for a long time. Again, the last time I remember it happening was for Toy Story Midway Mania. But, I mean, what's interesting is that, Universal Studios Florida has regular openings for attractions. Velocicoaster is in technical rehearsals right now, and they had a day where people showed up and there was like an hour, 2 hour, 3 hour long line, and they didn't have to use a reservation system to do it. There are rides that have pre-shows, just like other rides have pre-shows, and they're not using reservation systems, so I guess what's the difference?
Yeah.
But it seems like Universal over there seems to have a better handle over it than Disneyland does. So ultimately, I prefer a queue and just like fast passes and stuff. But if this was what it is, I feel like this is putting everybody on the same playing field.
Yeah.
So, but that brings us to the end of our news segment, and finally we can get into our fun Halloween Horror Nights discussion with James H. Carter II about what IPs we want to see at Halloween Horror Nights.
Goosebumps. Viewer beware, you're in for a scare.
Hello, everybody. We are so excited to finally have our friend James from Creepy Kingdom back on the show for a sequel to our past from 3 years ago episode of IPs that we want to see at Halloween Horror Nights. Welcome, James.
Back.
Oh, thanks for having me back. 3 years ago. Wow.
Was that really 3 years ago?
Yeah, it was 3 years ago.
Yeah, I have no concept of time, especially after this past year. I have no idea.
Well, this past year felt like 3 years, so
Yes.
maybe it was 6 years ago. I'm not quite 100% sure.
Yeah,
Even
not
though we're
sure.
only on our 5th season. So, I mean, I'm not sure how that works out. Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. What does it matter? Anyway, we're glad to have you here.
I don't think that's right.
Nikki's still on, and
No,
she's been scratching her head.
Now I'm obsessed. I don't think it was 3 years ago.
Okay, well, anyway, he was
Okay.
on the show
Well,
in the
anyway, it doesn't
past.
matter.
No, it
Doesn't
was.
matter.
It was.
Past.
No, it was 3 years ago. It was 2018 because I just went
Oh
back
my
and re-listened
God.
to that episode to prepare for this one. And,
Well, yeah, there you go, because we couldn't run over the same IPs.
That blows my mind.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Time flies.
That's crazy.
Not sure we were all having so much fun, but time does fly regardless of our interest in whatever is happening during our daily lives. So, anyway, Nikki, believe it or not, it was 3 years ago, but we're happy to have James back here with a brand new set of IPs. All of us have 5 different IPs that we want to see at Halloween Horror Nights. And last time, I believe, James, you actually sent me a list, so a little bit of a refresher
Sure.
for everybody who's listening. The last episode, these were the IPs that we all brought up during the episode that we won't be hearing this episode.
And last time we confined ourselves to just Universal IPs, right?
No, I think
it was
it was
anything.
just IPs in general. It was anything.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, before
It was anything.
Before you read this list, I do. It's interesting to see how many of these actually came to be in the past 3 years.
I know. Kind of cool, actually. So, Gremlins, Beetlejuice, Plan 9 from Outer Space. That definitely didn't happen. Pan's Labyrinth, Drag Me to Hell, A Quiet Place, The Descent, Seven, Dexter, Babadook, Ghostbusters, The Lure. Oh, yeah, The Lure, Donnie Darko, Monster Squad, Psycho, Hellraiser, Doctor Who, The Lost Boys, It, Killer Clowns, Strangers 2, In the Mouth of Darkness.
Okay, last thing I'm going to say about it being 3 years ago,
Yes.
I remember that it was 3 years ago now because I remember James having Monster Squad as one of his.
Yes.
And then we did the WB Horror Made Here thing right before I went into labor.
Yeah.
And you're like, see, this is where they filmed all of it. Blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
There we go.
Thank
That's
you.
it.
Thank you for that,
It was
Nikki.
3 years
I
ago,
appreciate that.
audience. Confirmed.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
for
much
the confirmation.
for that.
Well,
We can now move on with our
Yeah,
lives.
now we can. I
Thank
feel
you
better.
very
Thank
much.
you.
well, I actually,
Anyway.
before we get started, I have to say something. I did a contribution to the episode you guys did a few months ago about your favorite theme park memory.
Yeah.
And I talked about how excited and awesome I was to get chips. I just want to thank Nikki for the support of the free chips excitement. That was part of my theme park memory. I felt
Yeah, I
a
think
little
Nikki's always
self-conscious about
excited
it.
about that.
And then I heard Nikki say, no, I would have been excited about that too. I was like, right on.
Yeah. No, totally with you on that one.
It's the simple things in life, James. It's the simple things.
Free chips at Walt Disney World. That's amazing.
That is something to celebrate. Like,
Nothing's free there except for stress, and anxiety,
Sweat.
and maybe sweat.
Yes, sweat.
a lot of
All of that is free, but chips, whoa. Not expecting that. But yeah, no, so going back to this list of IPs, Killer Clowns has happened. We saw it, Warner Brothers, not necessarily Halloween Horror Nights. Beetlejuice is happening. It actually happened at, I guess, HHN Light in Orlando during the pandemic, and it's coming here to Hollywood, unofficially announced. But I was actually at Universal today, and I was looking at the construction that was happening by Curious George, and the facade for one of them has a small little flame above the door that was very reminiscent of Dante's Inferno from Beetlejuice.
exciting.
So we'll see if that actually happens. Yes, very, very exciting. I think that's it. And Ghostbusters as well. That all has showed up at HHN. So some of that stuff did show up, which is kind of cool. I wonder if they listened. They're like, whoa, we should listen to Norse people. Yeah.
Definitely. That's what I took it as.
I have no doubt in my mind that they listened to that episode for ideas. No doubt in my mind. But yeah, so that is the IPs that we had from our last episode. So this is the sequel. This is The Revenge. So we have an all-new top 5 IPs that we want to see at the event. Now, James, you're the guest. I want you to go first. Hit us with your very first IP you want to see at Halloween Horror Nights.
Okay, all right. I do want to mention one thing, though, that the rules that you brought up in the last time we did this was that we present our top 5, and we have a list of runners-up in case we say each other's choice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I have my 5, but I probably have like 7. in my,
oh my God, James.
Yeah, I had a lot of
I have
ideas.
4.
2 runners
I have
up.
4.
Oh, you have 4? Oh my God,
runners.
I'm a loser. I only have 2.
And is this in any particular order?
No particular
Okay.
order. Just IPs you want to see.
Okay.
That stresses Nikki out.
The ordering.
Everybody knows this.
All right.
But James, this ordering stresses her out.
All right, I guess it's not in order. That I kind of did put in order, but it doesn't matter. I'll do.
Yeah, Nikki, calm down. You're fine.
I'll do my
Calm down.
order.
You're good.
Don't whatever. Anyways,
Okay.
so my first answer for IP I want to see at Halloween Horror Nights is something that now I kind of have an idea why it happened, but before the merger a few years ago, I don't know why it didn't happen, which is Simpsons Treehouse of Horror.
Oh, 100%. I think that is something that fans have been clamoring for since the inclusion of The Simpsons at the Universal Parks. I mean, there have been times where we've been walking around and I'm like, imagine there being a Treehouse of Horrors like themed area or maze or something to Nikki. I mean, during Halloween, they play the music.
I think it wouldn't even be that hard for them to do a Treehouse of Horror like layover in the Simpsons ride. It's just a screen.
Yeah, I think it would be really, really easy to do that. I mean, I think there would be a difficulty in the like the setup for the story. Like with Sideshow Bob and what he's doing and his whole scheme, I think they would have to redo that. And
Well,
I think
all you'd have to do is
be a little bit of money.
All you'd have to do is Well, yeah, it would be money, but they have
who cares about money?
All that you'd have to do is redo like the intro screens to make it like different.
Cool, Nikki. Thanks for the well thought out information and idea there. James, so this is yours. So we stole it from you, but tell us what you kind of pictured in your head with this idea.
Well, it's a loose idea because it would be kind of odd to see the Simpsons walk around characters that exist currently in a haunt maze. But as you know, the Treehouse of Horror, they're often horror icons or monsters or creepy versions of themselves. But I mean, that's kind of how you would able to have to do it, And I just think the Treehouse of Horror series there's so many environments and places that would be so cool to walk into, and even to. I just realized now there's not of all the Springfield stuff, all this, you can go to Moe's, you can go to the Lard Lad, all the fun stuff. You can't go into the Simpsons house, right? Like that doesn't exist yet.
Oh yeah.
That's a very valid point.
So it would be cool to, that would be where the maze would be, like in the house, but it'd be, so you get to go through the iconic spaces, but scenes from different Treehouse of Horror episodes, I think it would be pretty cool.
And there's plenty to choose from. Now, Nikki isn't necessarily a huge Simpsons fan, so for you, probably a lot of the things I'm about to reference you don't get.
No, I've only seen a handful of them that you've shown me.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the house inevitably is going to be one of those houses that is going to be more funny than it is scary. I mean, you could have some of the scarier imagery that they've had in the past, but I think having moments from those shows, like where Homer's in the recliner in hell getting all the donuts shoved into his mouth by one of those demons, you could have that, or where Homer his own head is a donut and he's eating it slowly, or where Homer goes back in time with the toaster, or something like that, where he steps on a dinosaur by accident and everything changes. Mr. Burns as Dracula, the Bram Stoker Dracula, you could have him in there as well. I think at one point, Homer's face melts off or something. Like there's so much to choose from, and I think that would be a really fun addition because I think the events need that kind of humor in them to kind of make it a well-rounded event.
And also, as I think about this now, I think this would work more not a jump scare house. It really wouldn't work that way. Couldn't really populate it with the characters for jump scares. I think it'd just be cool.
It's like a walkthrough.
Yeah, like a walkthrough experience. Yeah.
And I think it would lend itself to having the opportunity to put all the characters who are the meet and greet characters in costumes too.
Yeah.
I would love to see a Bram Stoker Dracula, Mr. Burns walking around for photo ops. I mean, that sounds like a blast. So 100% all in on that. But that's a good one. I really like that first one. So Nikki, what's your first one on your list?
Okay. I also put a kind of funny, kooky, but still kind of creepy one on here. It's Eight-Legged Freaks.
Oh, Eight-Legged Freaks.
Do you
That's
remember
a fun
that
one.
movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of like a comedy horror.
David Arquette, right?
Yeah, but it's still kind of like, I don't know, some people are super freaked out by spiders. So
yeah,
I think
it's arachnophobia, big time. Not that movie, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Literal arachnophobia.
You could start out with
literal.
You could start out with like just a few spiders, and then there's a lot of little spiders, and then they get bigger and bigger and bigger. So I just think it would be a super fun like maze idea, and it's kind of unique. I don't know a maze where it's like not really populated by like jump scare like actor scares, but
Maybe
it's
more
all like
puppet
creepy
scares.
crawly.
Well, you could have like an actor who has like small spiders all over him, like
Like
jump
running
out,
around,
be like, oh
or
my
like
God.
one fighting off like a big one. Yeah.
Or you
So-
have a big puppet spider like eating somebody who looks like they're in half or something.
Yeah. So I think there's lots. I think it's one that lends itself easily to a lot of like different type of scares and creep outs.
Definitely a lot of puppet scares for
Yeah.
sure. But I think it would also lend itself, like you said, to have an opportunity to do something kind of cool with like a really, really, really big spider.
Yeah.
You know, Universal Studios isn't afraid to kind of go really, really large. I mean, we've seen it with the Queen Alien and AVP at Hollywood.
Yeah.
We've seen it with the large clown in Killer Clowns from Outer Space in Orlando. So, you know, I definitely think that's something that is achievable and something they could do really easily.
And I feel like the sound design for that maze would just be like so creepy.
A lot of like ticking, like claws
Yeah.
hitting like wood and stuff. You know, crawling noises.
James is
Something
getting
to really
freaked
get under
out
your
just
skin.
talking about.
Yeah, I was gonna say
James is
actually
liking it.
that film itself, I don't remember. It's about 20 years old now, so I haven't seen it recently. But I remember when I
Yeah.
saw it. It gave me like the chills. Like actually, I really realized that I actually do fear giant spiders. You know?
I picked a good one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell your significant other Shannon to dress up like a giant spider for Halloween.
Well, I'm not sure what the end result of that will be, but
We'll just dress Bowser up as a spider and come over.
Oh, have you seen those videos where the dog is dressed as a spider and they have it like run after people and people just freak out? It's really funny.
No.
I don't know why people freak out. It's clearly a dog in a costume. But for some reason, they're like, "Oh my god, it's a creature from another planet." Anyway, that's a good one. I like that one.
Yay.
So my first one on my list is actually one that I've said on Rush of Fear. So if anybody who listens to Rush of Fear, which is kind of the sister podcast to the UUOP podcast, you'll know what my choice is here. But I think that seeing a Scooby-Doo maze would be a perfect fit for a Halloween Horror Nights experience. And now that sounded like a questioning.
you gotta sell me on this.
Let me explain. So the reason why I thought this was, one, because going through Ghostbusters kind of proved to me that a movie doesn't necessarily, or a property doesn't necessarily have to be scary in order to have effective scares inside of a house or inside of a maze.
Right.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be realistic. A lot of those scares with Slimer or the Scarelli brothers, I think that's the name, they were all very cartoonish. I think the only one that wasn't was the Librarian. The Librarian was the only one that felt a lot more like a Halloween Horror Nights type makeup.
Right. You're talking about the Hollywood house, right?
Yeah, the Hollywood
Yeah.
house. Yeah, correct. But the other characters were very cartoony, and I actually thought it was a lot of fun. Now it doesn't have to be over the top scary with all these jump scares. You could have them, but I feel like Scooby-Doo would fit well in that spot because there are so many, quote, monsters to choose from.
Yeah.
There's the rogues gallery of monsters that the gang has uncovered throughout the history of the show that would be really fun in blacklight paint and really fun to have some special effects too. And it would be one of those humorous mazes where, you know, you'll walk down a hallway and the characters are running through doors back and forth, you know what I mean? Kind of that very stereotypical gag where
they're chasing
running
each
through
other.
the doors.
Yeah.
They're chasing each other, stuff like that. Then you turn a corner and then you get a jump scare, things like that. There's a lot of really good visual gags in the show that would translate really, really well to the maze. Now, there's also the other reason why I kind of got this idea was because there is a dark ride, and I think Abu Dhabi. There's a Scooby-Doo ride in Abu Dhabi that's a trackless dark ride, and the visuals and the soundtrack and the sound design really hit it home for me that this would be 100% doable. Because imagine walking up to a facade of this rickety, run-down, haunted, like stereotypical haunted house. The lightning strikes and the Scooby-Doo music playing underneath as you walk into the house, and you hear, you know, Scooby and Shaggy like, "Oh, I don't know, Scoob," and like you see flashlights kind of like all over the place.
Okay.
Oh, let's split up. You know, really getting the essence of the show. I think it would be a lot of fun.
Okay, you sold me on it. I get what you're putting down.
I mean, it's gateway horror.
No,
Scooby-Doo's gateway horror.
100%. It has to be one of the first horror things I ever saw as a child, you know, for sure.
Yeah.
And that ride, one of our people from Creepy Kingdom, Grant, who travels the world going to every theme park, did go to that theme park and experience that ride, and he said it was, you know, pretty much like a Haunted Mansion Scooby-Doo experience is what he called it.
I mean, Nikki, I don't think if you've seen this POV of this attraction yet, but it's a trackless dark ride, very much similar to Mystic Manor,
Yeah.
which I've shown you that. But like there are times where you quote split up and all your cars move away from each other and you all see like a scene play out of like static figures, but like a scene quote play out in front of you. Then you all come back together after like the scary moment happens and you all run away together in your vehicles.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
It's really interesting how they were able to kind of really grasp hold of the tone of the show itself. So, but yeah, no, I think it would be a really, really fun house to have at a Halloween Horror Nights, especially because they've been really hitting home like, hey, we're okay doing some stuff that's silly. It doesn't necessarily have to be really over the top scary. So,
and I know you're talking about the show Scooby-Doo, but you could also base a maze over one of the 2 movies.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, nothing's scarier than an animatronic Mr. Bean. I mean, that's terrifying.
I agree.
Hey, Rowan Atkinson, man, terrifying. Thing of nightmares. Anyway, moving on. James, what is your next IP on your list?
Well, it's not this. We're talking about ones that aren't really scary or that are kind of funny. That's a lot of where my mind goes to, naturally. But my next one would be What We Do in the Shadows.
See, I've not seen the show, nor have I seen the movie, so I'm out of the loop on this one.
I've just seen clips. I also haven't seen either, but I've seen a lot of clips of it.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I got to carry the weight here then. But,
sorry, James.
It's all good. So the film is great on its own, but it doesn't really tie in. It just carries the concept over to the TV show. It's not the same characters, but essentially it's supposed to be like a docu-series, like Office type, Parks and Rec type show of this house in Staten Island where a bunch of vampires live. What's going on?
That sounds absolutely absurd.
It is very absurd.
We should put it on our list to watch.
And obviously they've been alive for various lengths of time. And it just kind of shows them trying to, a little bit of like fish out of water stuff, navigate, living in modern times. But the special effects and the gore and the creepiness on the show mixed with the humor is like top notch. So it really adds to how funny it is when you just see the pure grossness of what vampires are capable of doing, and that tied in with a situational sitcom setup.
That's something you'd think would go well together, but mesh very, very well.
Right. A lot of people enjoy it. So I'm going to say it may not be for everybody, but it's a very popular show. But the way that I saw this as a haunt is really touring their manor and kind of experiencing a little bit of some of the crazy hijinks that have gone on throughout the show. In the house, particularly, they've had several adventures out of the house, as one might imagine. But again, it's weird because I think I said this last time because I'm pretty sure I did. When I think about the IPs I want to see, I'm not thinking about what's the best use of scare actors. I just think about environments I want to be in.
Not.
Yeah, I just think about environments I want to be in and experience. And scare actors can definitely enhance the experience for sure. And I know that's for most people, that's the thrill of going in these environments. But I think we've all established, the three of us, that we really love being immersed in environments, from films and TV series that we love. So,
I mean, we have a whole podcast about themed entertainment and enveloping ourselves in a themed environment. So I could totally 100% agree with that statement. I definitely have kind of thought, like in choosing these IPs, I thought about environment, I thought about characters and kind of how to kind of place them. Not necessarily about scares, but just memorable characters too. For me, that's important. And I know that What You Do in the Shadows or What We Do in the Shadows has some very memorable characters.
For sure, yeah. You probably, even if you don't watch the show, I'm sure you've just seen memes or clips or whatever of the characters saying or doing ridiculous things.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. I've seen plenty. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many. So that's a good choice. I think that's another fun one. It seems like all of ours so far have had an edge of humor to them so
It's
far.
about to go away.
Oh, it's about to go away?
Oh.
Ooh, take us
At least
take
for
us to the
me.
dark place, Nikki. Take us to the dark place. I don't know what the dark place is. Don't ask me what it is. I don't know what it is. But take me there.
Okay, I'll tell you. My next one on my list is The Others.
Ooh, I thought
Yeah.
about this one. I really, really did.
Yeah, well, see, because I thought about it and then I was like, oh, I'll just put it in like the maybes, or like the backups.
The runners up.
But then I thought about how it could actually work as a maze, and I was like, I got more and more excited.
Uh-huh.
So, James, have you seen The Others?
I have not, so I'm looking forward to hear
okay.
this.
The last time I
Wait,
saw The
actually
Others, it was
don't
a
even-
long time ago.
Do you care about spoilers?
Oh, it's a really big spoiler, James.
Well, I did. Well, no, I'm just spoiling it for
Bowser,
me.
no shaking.
No shaking. No,
No shaking, Bowser.
but you'd be spoiling it for the listeners as well, I suppose. But
Well, they have a
Yeah,
warning.
that's actually a very fair
Well,
point.
okay, fine. I won't say.
It's a pretty big twist.
Okay,
ending.
I won't say. But okay, so the way I see it is just like, okay, so the movie. Now I'm trying to figure out how
Sorry,
to say this.
just started thinking about it in my mind. I'm just like, they were all already dead. Oh, whoops, wrong movie. Sorry.
Oh.
Okay.
He's like, shut up, please. Shut up and let me talk.
Okay, so without going into too much detail, I guess it's basically, it starts out as your standard like haunted house movie. Like Nicole Kidman's character moves into this house with her children. Her husband's off to war, and it's pretty old timey. Probably like World War II, I think.
I don't remember
know.
the time period.
But so she was in this big house, and stuff keeps happening, like one of her little kids starts talking to another little kid, and then just crazy stuff happens all over the place. And I just think that would lend itself really well to like a creepy walk-through house where, you could have those like moments of creepy scares along the way. And then like at the end, like the twist would happen, and then you would get for people who have seen it, you would the end room would be like this big seance.
It's a big perspective switch.
Yeah, it's a perspective switch. And so that's what the ending would be. And the more I thought about it, the more I was thinking that would be so cool. That would be so cool.
And the thing is with
Yeah.
this movie in general, and this isn't a spoiler at all, the movie isn't really visually driven in the sense of like a whole bunch of like scary monsters or scary ghosts or things like that.
There's moments of it, but it's
there
more
are
creepy.
moments, but it's mostly like psychological and audio driven.
Yeah.
The sound design for this movie is off the hook. So having that sound design in a house, for me at least, imagining it like this would be really what's the word I'm looking for? Tension filled almost.
But
It's
no,
almost like,
that's what I
have me on edge.
Like I
Okay.
even thought of like this, like a scene where it could be a room where like at one point her husband comes home for war, but he's like really like zoned out, like kind of traumatized, and he's like sitting on the edge of the bed, and you could have a walk through port where you're just walking by and he's just sitting on the edge of the bed like glaring out, and then he could just like turn and stare at you really fast, or things like that.
It's
just
a subtle
creepy,
house.
it would be subtle, but I think it would be really cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, I think that's a good one. I think that's a good choice.
Okay, James, go watch the movie.
You got it.
You go watch it
And
so
then
we
after
can
I
talk
watch it,
about
I'm like, yes, I see it.
Yeah.
So since Nikki went a little bit more serious and dark, I'll go semi-serious and dark. 13 Ghosts.
Dang it. That's on my list.
On the list.
The first one to be knocked off. The first one.
The first steal.
And not the original 13 Ghosts. The remake 13 Ghosts.
With Monk.
With Tony Shalhoub. Which, by the way, total side note, did you know that Tony Shalhoub was the voice of Guido from Cars?
No.
No.
Yeah, I didn't either until I saw him doing the voice, and I nearly lost my goddamn
But
mind.
I could totally see that because he.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he also does like.
He does a lot of voice acting.
Yeah, he does. But then he's also like, Men in Black. He plays the alien in the pawn shop, and he kind of has like an accent there. Not
Yeah.
the same accent, but he's good.
Definitely different.
He's good at accents.
Yes. Anyway, yes, the 13 Ghosts with Tony Shalhoub. There are literally 13 ghosts that are amazing to choose from.
Creepy ghosts.
Incredible makeup design and just character design as a whole. And I just imagine, like, it would be really difficult to do this maze
Because it's a
the whole-
glass house.
It's a glass house. The
Nowhere to
premise
hide.
is a glass house. Nowhere to hide. I mean, they could do plexiglass or plastic and things like that. Things that kind of make it seem that way.
Well,
like,
and you could
the
also
main
be in the
hallway you're walking
basement.
down can be the plexiglass and or glass, but then you would have like the subsequent ones that you could see from afar can just be like fake
Mirror.
plastic mirrors or
Like,
something
well, like
to kind of enhance.
kind of angled mirrors, so they wouldn't show you back, but it would just look like more house.
Yeah, more house,
Yeah.
more the labyrinth of glass walkways and such. I think what would have to happen is that if they were going to do a 13 Ghost house, I don't think they would do it inside of the house from the film. I think they would have to think up an interesting way to kind of approach the IP, because you can't have a whole house be in that environment because there really isn't much else going on. I mean,
Well, you could just have part of the house.
you could have part of the house.
And then
yeah, you could definitely have part of
and
it,
then
but
you could go into the basement where that's not all see-through.
it is all see-through in the basement because that's where all the ghosts are held.
Well, they're in cubicles, but the entire basement isn't all clear glass.
Everything is. The glass is, the doors are, their cells
Oh,
are.
you're right.
Literally everything is glass. So it would have to be approached in a very different manner. But I feel like the scares and the ghosts and all of that would work really, really well in a house at Halloween Horror Nights.
I agree about the character design. I don't. Again, that was another movie from 20 years ago that I saw in the theater and haven't seen since.
Yeah.
I remember I didn't really like the movie, but the character design is what stayed with me for sure. And of course, the Oscar award-winning performance from rapper Rod Digga really stuck with me. That's actually really the only thing I remember about the movie besides the character designs of the ghosts.
What about Matthew Lillard?
I didn't even remember he was in it. I just remember that there was one thing where Rod Digga was scratching records to fight ghosts, and that's where the movie lost me. I was like,
I don't even remember what you're talking
Wait,
about.
I don't think you're thinking of the same.
No, he's thinking about that
it's
movie.
at the end. It's at the end.
It's the end.
No,
yeah.
no,
Yeah,
it's
it's at the
definitely that
I
movie.
just don't remember
It's
that.
definitely
moment.
Yeah, no, it's at. No,
She was like, nope,
it's at.
it is.
It's at the end. It's when they're all on like the cogs and it's spinning around. Yeah.
And then they hear it on the speakers and they cut back and she's just like messing with things. She doesn't know what's happening.
Down in the basement in the room that is not all glass.
It's all glass.
Not that room.
Oh my
I
God,
will
Nikki,
fight
it's all
you.
glass.
I will
It's
fight you.
literally a giant glass house. If you throw a rock, bad things will happen. Anyway,
Actually, the glass
13
is
ghosts.
strong enough to withstand
my God.
a rock throw.
My God. It has spells encrypted on them, so maybe.
No,
the only
yes,
ghost they
it is
wouldn't be
strong.
able to do is the naked woman ghost. That's the only ghost they wouldn't be able to do.
They would just put bubbles around her nips.
No, I think just in general having a scantily bubbles around her nipples.
That's the name of my new
I think
podcast.
having bubbles around your nipples. I don't want to know the topic of that
Yeah, I don't
podcast,
want to either,
James. No. I think having a scantily clad woman in a maze as a monster is just asking for trouble, unfortunately. I mean, even at Scary Farm where you have, like in Club Blood, they would have like a pseudo vampire stripper area and things would happen all the time.
I think it would literally just have to be her in the bathtub, like completely
Yeah, you're right,
submerged.
you're right.
In red.
Like completely covered in blood everywhere. Yeah, that's exactly
Like
what would
blood,
have to
like
Like
blood
you can't
water.
get near her at all.
No, she's
Yeah.
like off in the
Yeah,
distance.
that's a good point.
Yeah.
But yeah, 13 Ghosts. I think that would be a fun one.
Yay.
Yeah, I agree. That's why it was on my list.
Sorry, Nikki.
It's okay.
James, what's your third on your list?
All right, I'm going out there with this concept. And there's
I'm not shocked.
Oh,
I
here we go.
I know
I
you're
was
not.
fully expecting some out there concept from you.
yeah, the other ones weren't so out there so far, but this one I'm going to go out there. I know there's legal logistics, whatever. I don't care. We could pick anything. And
F the legal system.
that's right. Spider-Man got into the MCU. You never know what anything can happen. So they said it'd never happen, and it did. So speaking of which, this is something a little take on things. It's not the IP as a whole, but an element of an IP, and it actually is something from the MCU. It is something from the television series WandaVision. Did you guys check out this show?
Yes, we did. We loved it.
All right. Well, then you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about when I say I want a complete maze experience, the whole nine of Agatha Harkness haunt experience. The Agatha all along.
Agatha all along.
And you go through her kind of like witchy workshop area that she has down below ground.
Yeah,
and
of
things
course.
Like that.
Yeah, you go down the
It
basement.
could start in Salem. Like
Yeah, it could start in Salem.
Yeah.
Because that was definitely creepy makeup where she sucked all the power out of those other witches, and they look like zombie versions of themselves. They even came back and attacked Wanda, so I definitely think that would work really, really well in this situation.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of horror elements of WandaVision, just kind of sprinkled throughout. The fluffy sitcom setups, which was a great contrast that I enjoyed throughout the series. But when Agatha revealed herself, that episode, when they showed back all these scenes where she was up to no good, and all this stuff, I think just going through that and having Agatha be after you. As so it'd be like one of those like tons of actors dressed as Agatha.
yeah.
That'd be fun.
Like that. And yeah, I want it to happen. I know it's a pipe dream, but I want it. Give it to me.
It's a pipe dream.
No, that sounds really super fun, and there's a lot you can do with it. You could have rabbits everywhere. You could have like a room with like bugs, because there were like bugs.
Cicadas.
Yeah, the cicadas.
Oh yeah.
Like that. Even just the sound of cicadas. Oh, back to that.
I want Dead Vision somewhere in this. Jump scare
No,
Dead
it's
Vision.
only Agatha.
No, jump scare Dead Vision.
That could happen.
No.
Yeah.
Thank you, James.
I'll allow it. But yeah, it really just opened up the idea of possibilities of taking an IP, but just focusing on, the villain as
Yeah, no, I think that's an interesting idea.
No, that's really cool. There are no rules here, so I'm glad that you went out of the box like that. That's really cool.
Thank you. Make it happen, HHN gods.
Well, I mean, if anything, that sort of thing could happen at like a Disney Halloween party, if not HHN. So keep your eyes peeled. You never know.
I wish. Wow.
It would probably be in an Asian country.
If anything, you'll just get an Agatha face character.
Well,
Maybe.
Like meet and
That'd be
greet.
It's
exciting.
better than nothing.
I accept that.
Yeah.
Better than nothing.
I said this last time. I'll say it again. It still saddens me that for Disney's Halloween stuff, they don't go all out in production value and you recreate these environments from Disney films that we would love to experience for Halloween.
Yeah, I feel like they probably just are like, that's not our shtick. We're not going to do that.
We'll make just as much money without doing that.
That's
Yeah.
literally.
Well, that's literally
that's
it's like
literally
they don't have to. Everyone's
Yeah.
fine with them doing the same thing over and over every year.
Exactly.
I'll come dressed up and get a Reese's Pieces. I'll be happy with that.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what everybody says. Like, I'll go and do all the same rides that are there during regular park hours, but I'll stare at a Headless Horseman, get Reese's Pieces, then I'll leave happy. So
I mean, you say that, but I still go. So I'm not teaching them a lesson.
I probably would still go. I mean, did you get your Reese's Pieces, James? Did you get your Reese's Pieces?
Yeah, I will say collecting chocolate bars in Florida, humidity is not a good recipe for fun.
Well, I mean, at the end of the night, it collectively becomes one giant chocolate bar.
Yeah, pretty much.
So,
Life hack: bring like a cooler satchel with ice
just
packs in
empty
it.
it all
There
in
we
there,
go.
and it just becomes one giant one. Yeah. Anyway, Nikki, what's your next one? Next year, brain fart. What's your next IP?
My next one is The Faculty.
I knew you were gonna put this on your list. You love this
I
movie.
do, and we were just talking about it the other day.
That's true. We
So
were
it was
just
like
talking about it
when
the
I
other
was
day.
making my list, it was like the first one that came to my mind.
We've been watching
And-
History of Horror on Shudder,
Oh,
and that
okay.
came up. So.
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh, The Faculty! I love The Faculty." No, and I think this would be another slow burn one because it doesn't start off super scary. It's the characters realizing that something is going amiss in their town, but I just think it once again lends itself to so many cool visuals. Like, what is it when they're like out in the field, like the people in the town that are already taken over, and they have like their faces open up and all those creepy crawly tendrils
like worm-looking things,
are like
tendril
catching
things.
the water from the sprinklers or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's so creepy. You could totally Universal could totally pull that off with prosthetics and
I mean,
stuff.
all you would really need to do is, those things that you attach to hoses and they just wiggle all over the place?
Yeah.
Just put that on a prosthetic.
And then there's a big creepy monster boss at the end that you can have. Like you can even have like a. Oh my God, Siri! Siri,
Siri, you were.
I was like, Nikki, you sound like a robot all of a sudden.
Siri does not like my choice.
No,
But yeah, you could have like a cool big boss scene at the end with the big alien. And I just love this movie, and I would love to see it happen.
Isn't there also like these worm things that kind of attach to their faces? Like, can't you have a character that has those attached, and he's like trying to pull them off?
Well, they're not really attached, aren't they? Under your skin.
Yeah, like he's trying to pull them out of his skin.
Yeah. It's been a long time. I know. Maybe they won't do it because of the drug use, but I know they snort drugs to expel the aliens. I remember that.
Guys, how do we save ourselves from these aliens that are taking over our bodies? Oh, we should abuse our bodies. There you go. That's a great idea.
They won't want them anymore. They're damaged goods.
That's actually a fair point.
It's a message. It's a message. Don't do drugs because even aliens don't want your body after that.
Oh, wow. It's a pretty extreme message for a film. That's pretty intense. Thank you, Nikki, for that.
You're welcome.
The more you know. After school specials with Nikki.
I'd watch.
Anyway, I'd watch that.
Oh, man.
So, next up on my list is Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Good choice.
So, I chose this one in particular, the...
Gary Oldman?
What was... With Gary Oldman, yes. I was trying to think of the director's name, and just Francis Ford Coppola. That film, for me, stands out because there are so many different iterations of Dracula in that film. Gary Oldman plays Dracula in different formations, pretty much. Like, there's a werewolf version, there's like an old version, there's him in his armor, there's the more suave with the top hat,
long hair,
and the long hair and the glasses version. There's like the really old decrepit version of him. There's so many good ones that you could utilize there too. And there's a lot of really, really cool environments to utilize and moments that, because they were using practical effects throughout the entire film, a lot of it could technically be transferred over to a live event like a Halloween Horror Nights. Like when the vampire's looking at Winona Ryder and he just sees like the veins and the heart beating over, kind of like superimposed over her body. Mm-hmm. You could have a moment like that in The Maze where you have a projection superimposed over a person's body and you see the blood pumping and their heart pumping and stuff like that. So there's a lot of really cool environments, a lot of cool characters, a lot of cool scares that you could utilize. The first one, at least when I thought of this idea that came to my mind that actually I find terrifying, is where Anthony Hopkins and all the other pretty much like vampire slayers go down into that crypt to go kill the vampire woman who has the child, and her face is just pure white and she's just spewing blood. That imagery to me is so haunting. She's like dressed in that big long white gown, with like the hat white gown part too, like the veil.
Yeah.
All of it's just really creepy. Really, really creepy. So to me, thumbs up, Bram Stoker's Dracula.
That'd be fun to be around.
It's got to be better than their last Dracula maze. So.
Oh, Dracula Untold?
Yeah.
Untold horrors of terrible mazes.
Mm-hmm.
Which you brought up, Nikki, on the last time we did this.
I'm bitter. I'm bitter about that. It was awful. I'm done.
Nikki's pissed.
I'm done.
Nikki's mad.
Yeah.
Anyway, Bram Stoker's Dracula. James, next one.
All right. I will say I'm saving my best one for last. So I haven't really been doing it in order, but I'm just like, you know what? I was just about to say my best one, but I'm going to save it for last. Finish.
I don't know. I wouldn't save your best one for last because what if Nikki or I have it?
It's unlikely.
Plan 9 from Outer Space 2.
I do want to say, before I went back and listened, my immediate first thoughts was Gremlins, because I still want a Gremlins house. Is literally like the only thing that I love from my childhood that HHN hasn't delivered on yet, that I feel like it's going to come. And I actually, independent of listening back, I did think again that I still want a Plan 9 from Outer Space house. I'm still so I'm glad I went back and listened, because those were the first two things that came to mind. But anyways,
Gremlins came to my mind too.
Yeah.
Keep our fingers crossed for Gremlins. So yeah, my next pick is going to be Lovecraft Country.
Oh, nice.
That would be a really tough one, right?
We need to finish that show.
We didn't finish it.
We didn't finish it.
Well, how far you got? Far enough. You got I mean, I don't know how far you got, but I assume that you got 5 episodes in.
I'm going to assume you got 3/4 of the way through, so that's about how much I'm going to talk about. But I truly don't understand how far you got.
I have no idea how far
Big
you got.
assumptions, James.
But this is what I'm trying to say is that the imagery of within the first 3 or 4 episodes are really the basis for what would make an incredible haunt. The show, and really each episode kind of goes into different places, different environments. It goes from really creepy horror to one episode. It seems like it's all Indiana Jones adventure style. So the series is kind of all over the place visually or with the environments. But the first few episodes particularly have so much creepy imagery, like particular when you when some of the characters buy this big house and it's like a portal to this other world, and there's these creatures that are coming out of the walls and the ground and all this stuff. And it's, for people that aren't aware of the show, it's set in the 1950s. The real hard thing to do with this show, for sure, or to make it into a haunt, is that it is seeped with racism and dealing with the racism of the time, and it really, the big. I mean, at a huge helicopter level, the show is kind of like, who's the real monsters there? The actual crazy monsters or the humans on the show?
Yeah,
yeah. For me, I feel like that would be the biggest obstacle, and I feel like, and I posed this question to both of you. Would that maze be able to be created without acknowledging that portion of the show? Because I feel like the reason why the show is so good is because it's unrelenting in its depiction of racism and how life was for African Americans during the 1950s. Mm-hmm. So could we do a maze like that without acknowledging any of it?
You could, but it would almost be like a disservice to the show.
To the content?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Although I will say this. This is what last year for the season finale of the show, HBO had a drive-in experience where you could go to a drive-in and watch the finale for a few select people. And Shannon and I got to go to it. And they made the drive-in look like it was from the 50s, and they had some, actors kind of checking you in that seemed like from the 50s. But after you watched the episode, as we were leaving, there was a little bit of a drive-through haunt experience where there was some interactions with the characters. It wasn't really immersive because it was outside of a drive-in, but the way they did it was really well done. And actually, I don't know the name of the company, but David Wally's company that does Dark Harbor. Yes. I don't know what the name of his company is, but yeah, they supplied the haunt elements of this experience.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And I think you could do it, but is it a disservice or not? That all matters to the execution. It's
true. That's true.
I will say, like, going to the season finale and going to a drive-in experience supposed to be set in the 50s, and then having the little haunt element at the end. I mean, none of that addressed racism at all, and it was still fun to be there and to get a little bit of that in real life, so to speak.
True, very true.
So it could work, but I don't know.
It's a very fine line to walk with that particular IP.
Sure.
There's lots of eye candy for them to use, but I do think they would have to tread carefully.
Yeah, very
but if
carefully.
they did, it's something that I would love to see.
Yeah, because the creature design in that show is pretty cool.
And I do think this is a possibility just because of Universal's relationship with Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers is part of HBO and all that kind of fun stuff. So, and how popular the show was. I feel like if Lovecraft Country came out in a non-pandemic year, we would have had some type of experience. Whether it been at Horror Nights, I don't know, but I feel like they definitely would have had some type of pop-up experience or something that would be, like a haunt to immerse you in that environment, or at Comic-Con or something, because it's so perfect just for it.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. There's a lot of cool elements in that show. Nikki, what is your next IP?
Mine is one that probably wouldn't work in any way, shape, or form.
So this combo's
It'll
gonna
work.
be short.
but I couldn't not put it on my list because I was obsessed with this movie for some odd reason, and that would be Cube.
I have no idea what that
Wait,
is.
The Cube?
Oh my god, you guys don't know what
Are you
that
talking
movie
about
is?
The Cube?
The Cube, sure.
Okay, yeah.
The one
Cube.
where they're
That's
all
different.
trapped in their own
Yeah,
rooms.
they're all trapped in space and the guy gets chopped up into cubes.
No, I don't.
Yeah,
no.
like the big fence thing pops up and it cuts them in pieces.
You're talking about the movie when they're all in separate rooms.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That.
Yeah.
I just think-
it's like a. Did it happen in space?
No.
It's been a long time
It did
since
not
I've seen
happen
this
in
movie.
space.
Okay, so you're gonna have to carry this one because I definitely.
Okay.
I'm
Well, it's
probably not
also been
thinking
a
about
long
it.
time
Right.
since I saw this movie, but I was obsessed with it, and I can't not put it on my
Great
list.
choice, Nikki.
But I told you it would be a weird one going into it.
So it's a movie I don't remember anything about that I love a lot.
I never said I loved it a lot. I said I used to be obsessed with it.
Sorry.
And I just think like it would be kind of cool as like a more interactive haunt, more like a
Like a
trapped type thing where you have to find your way out of each cube room and into the next.
So it's like an escape room.
Oh no, another cube.
Yeah, so it would be more like a horror escape room.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
And especially on the level of Halloween Horror Nights, I think that would be pretty neat.
Yeah, I just think it's different and I would love to see it happen because I think it would be cool. But without, the murder.
Without the murder.
Yeah.
Because you need to go home at the end of the night.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean that was short. Fine, whatever. Do you want me to say one of my
No, because
backups?
we're already we're pretty close to an hour here.
Okay,
So
fine.
going through all this stuff is fast like that is fine.
Cube sounded better in my head than when I said it out loud.
Cube.
The Cube.
Cube. That movie Cube.
I think it's just called Cube. Is it called?
I
The
thought it
Cube?
was The Cube.
Oh,
I'm pretty certain it was The Cube.
I know.
We'll look it up after
I know the
the
film
show.
Gleaming the Cube with Christian Slater. We can do a haunt on that one.
I don't think that would translate well.
They made like sequels, like Saw. There was
The
like
Cube 2.
No, there was Hypercube.
Cube Squared.
Hypercube.
Cube
Hypercube?
Squared.
Yeah.
Is that
It
what
was
it's
like
called?
it was like a polyhedron.
I would hope that it would be. Anyway, moving on. My next choice for a IP at Halloween Horror Nights, and this one I am very, very passionate about because it was truly my gateway horror as a kid, and I was obsessed. I had toys, pencil sharpeners, bookends, pillows, blankets,
Oh my God,
toys.
what is this? I'm so
I
intrigued.
had like this pencil holder where you opened up and it was a sarcophagus and a mummy popped up who was holding your pencils and you're like, hey, thank you. And stuff like that. There was Pogs. There was everything.
I did not put
I
this on my
was-
list because I knew it would be on yours.
I was obsessed with these books. Goosebumps.
Ah.
I think Goosebumps would make an amazing IP for a Halloween Horror Nights house. There are so many memorable books and episodes from the show that are really creepy. So you have The Haunted Mask 1 and 2. Both of those are really scary. I mean, imagery from that first Haunted Mask where you have all of them skinned masks basically is what they were. They ended up being skin of real people, all floating, chasing Jennifer Beth or whatever her name is, Carly Beth around. There you go. Got it right eventually. Chasing her around. Then you have the gnome episode where the gnomes come alive in the middle of the night. Then you also have the scarecrows walk at midnight. You have the Yeti of Pasadena.
the puppet one.
What puppet one?
What
Oh,
is it?
the living dummy.
ventriloquist, yeah.
Yeah, the living dummy. There's 3 of those. There's so many iconic Goosebumps books and episodes that can be utilized for a haunt maze. That would be so much fun. And I think it would be kind of like a best hits, just simply based on the fact that there's so many. Oh, there's Calling All Creeps where the guys like turn into lizard people. Like, that's amazing. That would be perfect for Halloween Horror Nights because of all the prosthetics. And I just dork out thinking about the idea of walking up to a haunt and hearing the Goosebumps music. Burm, 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 burm. It sounds so much fun to me.
I think a cool way to tie all this all together would actually be to kind of base it on the first movie, because I thought they did a good job of kind of tying the characters together.
No, James, no. Not the movie. The books and the show. only.
I was always a much bigger fan of Are You Afraid of the Dark rather than Goosebumps.
Yeah, I liked Are You Afraid of the Dark as well. I just felt like the imagery outside of a handful of episodes of Are You Afraid of the Dark were stronger in Goosebumps. But the reason why I'm so staunch in my stance against the movie is because the reason why I chose specifically the shows, because the show's imagery and style is so drastically different than what the film is.
Sure.
And the film really revolves around R.L. Stine as a character and reimagining a lot of the characters that are from the books, which I actually enjoyed the movie a lot. I enjoyed the movie a ton. Also, the fact that they used that music from that movie inside Dark Ride is pretty great at Not Scary Farm. But for me, it's really about the imagery and the style of the original show that really stood out. That was scary. The stuff from the movie is a little bit more family friendly scary.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
But the stuff from the show is definitely scarier, way scarier actually. And I think that kind of setting it up as a movie would work probably fine. Like a midnight showing of Goosebumps episodes or something, kind of the way that they set up El Cucuy at Halloween Horror Nights, where you walk into a movie theater and that kind of starts the entire kind of progress throughout the maze.
Didn't they
I
do
think you do something
Blumhouse
very
like
Yeah,
that?
happy. I remember Happy Death
Happy
Day was
Death
on a
Day?
billboard or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy Death Day to You. Was it happy? It didn't have its own maze. It was part
It was
of
in
like
the
a
Blumhouse one.
Yeah, it was in the Blumhouse of Horrors.
Yeah.
One.
Yeah.
And you entered a movie theater.
Yeah.
I mean, you could even go the direction that they did for Creepshow, where you have a book.
You walk into the book.
That'd
Yeah.
be totally fun. A giant book of Goosebumps. You know what I mean? Like that would work too, because they did the comic book for Creepshow. So something along those lines, I would be totally fine with that. But yeah, that to me that's like my number one on the list. So I got it out. No, I knew nobody was going to have.
But don't
that.
you have one more?
No, that was like the one I was most excited about. That was
okay.
my number one in general.
Okay.
But
Well,
yes, I do have more.
Just so you know, I didn't put it on my list because I knew you would put it on your
Thank
list.
you for not doing that.
I do.
I appreciate
Before
it.
we move on, you mentioned it. I just have to say it. Just put it on record. Is that Dark Ride at Not Scary Farm is my favorite haunt, maze, house, whatever you want to call them, haunts or the haunt, that's not based on an IP.
It's damn.
It's definitely.
It actually almost brings me
way,
to
way, way
tears
up there.
how much I love it.
That's how I felt about was it Curse of Calico?
Yeah.
That's how I felt about that.
I think I like Dark Ride more than Curse of Calico.
I like Curse of Calico
Yeah.
just simply based on the fact that it's such a love letter to the entire event. It's like such a meta maze. It's like, okay, I'm going to an event and going through a maze at the event, describing the event of why it's the event. What? But I do have to say that Dark Ride is really, really, really smart in how it's executed, especially because the maze itself is constantly going back and forth between, I guess, if you will, on stage and backstage. And the sound design reflects that, but also the set design and the character designs reflect that as well. And there's this really striking difference from when you first walk in and then you turn the corner into like the back alley, back room, and it's so dingy, dark, dirty. It almost feels like a Rob Zombie horror movie where it's just dirty and gross.
Yeah.
Which I dig, because it's such a striking comparison to the rest of the attraction.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, I could go on about it. I will say before we move on from Dark Ride that the sound design of the ride, like breaking down and shutting
Glitching.
down, like that, I nerd out on that so hard. Like it's so awesome. I think I'm sure it's on a vlog or videos. Like the first time I went through it, I was just like, oh my god! Like the whole time.
Bowser, no shaking.
Oh, it was brought to you. You mentioned it. I couldn't let it go without mentioning it. But anyways,
No, you're fine. I love that maze just as much as you do, so we're good there. But James, I think this is our last one.
yeah. So I was trying to figure out. So I have my runners up, right? And I don't know if we were going to mention some of them, but
100%. Mention your runners up. I want to hear them.
We can list them off right now, like before we do our last one.
Yeah, let's all mention our runners up.
I just fear. I hope I don't take one from someone else.
Or do you want to wait till the end? After after our last ones?
I guess after our last one's done,
Okay.
then we'll do our runners-up.
Okay,
That's
say your
actually a good
last
point,
one.
James.
Yeah.
Very good point. Thank you for saving the episode.
That's right. I'm professional. All right.
What? Are you insinuating that I am not?
I didn't say
We're
that.
more
dare you, sir.
freeform.
How dare you? I read between the lines, James.
I know there was some subtext there. All right, so I told you I had a crazy one, and I was like, "You guys, what if I pick it?" And I was like, "You're not going to pick this. And if you do, I'll be shocked and floored." But this is out there, but it's so obvious too that when I say it, we're like, "Oh my god!" So, all right. I'm going to say it, and I'm going to explain how it could work. Because when I first started...
I feel like the build-up to this is so much better than what the actual end result's
I don't
gonna
know. I think you guys are going to be happy with it. But I'm going
Okay.
your second thought's going to be, that's not going to work. And then I'm going to say, this is how it's going to work.
Okay.
be. Okay.
Because I gave it some thought. I would love to go to a walk-through Halloween Horror Nights maze of the Haunted Mansion.
Whoa. Okay.
Like, wait,
Okay.
the movie?
No, not the
No,
Eddie
not the
Murphy movie.
Yeah, the Eddie Murray movie.
Right. That's completely separate terrors and horribleness. Nobody wants Jennifer Tilly. Nobody wants Eddie Murphy.
I mean, I want Jennifer Tilly, but that's a
In the
different
maze.
topic.
Jennifer Tilly is different. But nobody wants Eddie Murphy in this maze. The movie?
No,
Thanks, Nikki.
that didn't cross my mind, Nikki, when I was thinking of it. So,
I'm picking up what you're putting down, James.
all right, so here's my thought process on this. So first, this came from the desire, which is still a desire, no matter how many times you go on the Haunted Mansion, that I just, the bucket list thing to do is to be able to actually get out of the Doom buggy or just be able to walk through it and explore it and look and just at your leisure. That's I don't know how much of a upcharge you got to pay to do that, but but that's something I've always wanted to do. And of course, if you do that, a lot of the illusions will be broken. But so there really hasn't been that opportunity to walk through the Haunted Mansion, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a good point.
we've coasted by it so many times, in a Doom buggy, but just want to go a little slower sometimes,
Yeah, and not only that, you have so many characters that I feel like people don't know about other than the obvious like major ones like Madame Leota and things, or like the Ghost Host. But there are so many to choose from, and especially from Florida's Haunted Mansion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The characters, that's easy. There's so many characters that can even work as scare.
Oh, dude, you could even include characters that didn't make it into the mansion itself.
Oh, there's so many, right?
I'm acting like it's gonna happen. I was about to ask James, can we include this
Yes, we
character?
can. It's going to happen.
I don't remember who drew it. I actually think it was Rolly Crump, but the Candle Man, who's like
that's a great
man
one.
made of
Oh my God! I didn't even consider the
Oh.
Museum of the Weird characters. Oh,
Yeah, Museum of the Weird
Throw
stuff.
all that in there too. The Mistress of All Evil is one of my favorite Rolly Crump's designs. So yeah, that would be wow. This is getting better and better.
I blew your mind,
Yeah,
didn't
yeah. That Candleman one. That's some creepy imagery there.
Yeah, it's terrifying. Imagine him Imagine like a dark hallway, and the only light you see is like a candle flickering. And then the closer the candle gets to you, the more of him is revealed, and you just see like this candle man approaching you. That'd be terrifying.
Oh, it's so
Lumiere
good.
didn't come back quite right.
Lumiere didn't come back quite right.
I mean, it was in the middle of the transformation back to human, and the magic stopped.
Oh, help me, kill me, put me out of my misery.
So the one element here was, the elephant in the room here, we're saying is like, how can this happen? Disney would never allow for this to happen.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, what's a way for something like this to, be able to use another company's IP legally? And it's parody.
Interesting.
So it wouldn't be called the Haunted Mansion.
The Mansion of Haunts.
No, I came up with a name. It'd be called the Spirit-Filled Big House. and I actually just came up with that while we were recording. But, I'm glad.
I'm impressed.
I'm glad that it worked. But anyways, that's how I'm like. So it wouldn't be like the exact Haunted Mansion with the exact characters because they don't have the rights to it. But they could totally do like a parody version of the characters and the environments. Like they could do that, right? Let's consult a lawyer. That's okay, right? They can get away with that.
That's not Madame Leota. That's Madame Biota. She's crazy.
And she's not in a globe. She's clearly in a fishbowl.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that'd be so
Yeah.
good. Yeah, there's a fish floating in the.
and then instead of the Hatbox ghost, and his head disappears and shows up in the Hatbox, his Hatbox disappears and shows up on his head.
What?
You're blowing my
What?
mind.
Crazy.
You're blowing my mind.
What?
It's the
No.
head box ghost. I don't know.
The Hatbox head ghost.
Box head ghost.
Box head ghost. And then all the ghosts that jump up and say boob, they go oob. They say it backwards.
I mean, we could do the whole. It's all good. We could get it. This can happen.
And then at the end of it, when instead of the ghost following you home, they just murder you.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah,
twist.
they go done and done.
Honestly,
Easy.
I think that seeing something like eerily similar to the Haunted Mansion, but not quite the Haunted Mansion, would be
Off-putting.
creepy in and of itself. And I now I want to see it. Now I want to see
job,
that
James.
happen.
I guess. I mean, I don't know if Horror Nights ever do it, but maybe that's a project to take on myself.
Honestly, I wouldn't put it past the Scary Farm to do something similar to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, they make fun of Disney stuff all the time at Scary Farm, you know, whether or not
Pinocchio.
it's, you know, singing a song that's about throwing Bin Laden's body into the ocean that's to the tune of Under the Sea from Little Mermaid.
Oh, the
or
hanging. You're talking.
Yeah, the hanging, or singing about World of Color. It's just water, water.
Yeah, that whole show is like nonstop. Is that over officially? I don't remember if the last one was.
I don't know. I don't know what the plan is because, you know, pre-pandemic, I think that they were going to take a break from the show, but I don't know what the plan is now. Because at the end of the show, they had like that
R.I.P. the hanging.
R.I.P. the hanging
Right, okay,
from
that's what it was.
whatever year to whatever year.
They hung the hanging.
They hung the lawman.
Yeah.
Well, I like the
A
show.
little bit of a twist.
I do too.
I like
Anyway.
satire. Anywho,
Me too. That's your idea. I like the idea.
thank you. I hope it happens, or I have to make it happen.
Cross your fingers. Are you listening, Universal Creative? Are you listening? Anyway, Nikki, on to your last IP for Halloween Horror Nights.
Okay, here we go. This is one that I think would be really cool visually, and it is Ghost Ship.
Ooh, because you have that entire first scene where people get
Exactly.
Cut in
exactly.
half.
I want to see. I like mainly. That's the only image in my head of the whole movie that I want to see happen. Is I want to see everyone cut in half, and then that one little girl is like, "Shit, I'm too short."
pretty sure her response was a bit more intense than that.
A little bit, yeah. But no, I just think it's like a really visually stunning movie that lends itself to like a maze. Like, and I think the grandeur of it, like being a ship, I think that's something that Horror Nights could pull off.
I definitely think that this would have to be a soundstage house.
Yes, definitely.
Just because, at least in my mind, you know, when I'm picturing Dead Waters at Halloween Horror Nights 27. You know, the facade, quote, facade inside of the soundstage was this sunken ship, essentially. So you could do something akin to that where you're boarding the ship and you have like this forced perspective that makes it look like the ship is massive.
Yeah.
So that'd be really, really neat.
Yeah, no, so that's my last one, and it's kind of up there in the one of the top spots for me. But yeah, I just think it'd be really fun.
I like that one. Good one.
Right on.
So my last one, I'm kind of jumping back and forth between whether or not I want to choose something from my runners up instead of the actual one on my list, and I don't know what to choose because both of them for me are like they would be really cool. I'm just going to go with my gut. I'm going to go with my gut on this one.
Okay.
So I think that a Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark would be a wonderful haunted house.
That was one of my runners-up, so good thing I didn't say it.
There you go. I'm glad that didn't happen.
I had a feeling it was going to come up.
I mean, if you guys haven't been able to tell, a lot of my choices have really revolved around characters this time. Also environments, but characters big time.
Mm-hmm.
And for a lot of people growing up in the 90s, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark was a big book. Also another gateway horror type material for kids. And the movie just took it the next step, and I feel like that movie would do really, really well in a haunt format.
Yeah, I'm surprised that didn't happen. I guess it didn't.
Yeah, I am a little shocked. What studio was that?
I don't recall. I was not at one of the major ones, so.
Yeah, I don't think it was one of the major ones. But I definitely could see that. I mean, I know we're talking about Halloween Horror Nights here, but I definitely could see like a Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark at a WB, because a lot of WB's experiences weren't just typical walkthrough experiences. They're all kind of unique in their own way. I mean, they had Arkham and they had It, and those things were pretty typical walkthroughs. At points, there was interesting things, but I feel like they could have taken it in a different direction that could be pretty interesting. So
their Conjuring house was a setup where you would walk into a room and you'd be there for a minute or so, and then things would happen. So it wasn't just the conga line jump situation. It was like walk in a room, set up, then move on to the next one. So I think that'd be a good way to do this one, I would think, too.
Yeah. And I like that Conjuring one because they had plants.
Yeah.
And that was awesome. That worked really, really well. But yeah, no, I think that ends all of our official lists. So now we can go through and talk about our runners-up. For me, I only had 2 runners-up. My first one was Fright Night, the original Fright Night, with what's the actor?
Drawing a blank. Who's that dude?
Drawing a blank. Humperdinck. What's his name?
Oh, I can't remember
What's
right now.
his name? He has a sister who also acts.
I know, I can't remember.
I could. It's like on the tip of my tongue. Shoot. Anyway, moving on. Fright Night, and also Return to the Living Dead.
Nice.
You have the tar zombie. For me, that was a big one that I'd like to see. Also, there's a lot of really big memorable scenes. Obviously, you can't recreate Leanna Quigley dancing naked in a graveyard, but you could have some fun like goth characters in a graveyard getting killed by all these zombies. Or the soundtrack was phenomenal. You have this rock soundtrack. A lot of really fun things. So those are my 2 runners up.
I don't think any of that franchise have been made into a haunt, right? I mean, there's
none of them. None of them.
Huh. Well, Night of the Living Dead is public domain, so.
Night of the Living Dead is?
Yeah.
It is? I didn't know that.
Yeah. They didn't secure proper copyrights when they made it, so yeah, you could literally print it up and sell it legally scot-free right now.
Wow.
Oh, that's crazy.
yeah. So, but I'm saying anyone could do a haunt based on it. I don't. That might be cool, but anyway.
So, James, what were your runners up?
Well, I'm going to try to give this brief because the reason I didn't say them is that they were obscure, and I don't want to spend the time explaining them if people hadn't seen
like
them.
The Lure?
That was extremely obscure, but these were these are a little less obscure. These are
Chris Sarandon, by the way.
Okay.
That's the name
Susan
of the
Sarandon.
Susan Sarandon.
Oh, there we
I
go.
did not know
Okay,
they were
that was
brothers and
good.
sisters.
You didn't know they were brothers and sisters?
No.
Wow.
I don't know Susan Sarandon's family.
Why not?
They have the same last name.
Lots of people have the same last name, Gabe.
Name actors that have the same last name in Hollywood.
They're all related.
Plus,
They're all related.
most
Cusacks.
most of them
One
use
large
stage names.
incestuous Hollywood family.
Well, most of them use stage names, right, or different last names because I don't want to be known.
Yeah,
by their
that's
siblings.
true. Half of them are fake names.
Besides Skarsgård's
That's
family.
a good point.
But anyway.
That's like Nick Cage is related to who? Like somebody really famous?
Oh, I forget who it is. I know.
Yeah. Nick Cage is part of like a really famous family.
Really?
Yeah. Anyway, I'll look that up. James, you can go through your
I love our tangents when I come out here. It's so much fun. All right.
Oh, he's a Coppola.
Oh.
That's what it was.
Yeah, he's
yeah.
a Coppola.
All right. So
Anyway, there you go.
I chose my runner-up. One of them was from the Into the Dark series, which was the Blumhouse Hulu film series. Day of Puka, which was a haunted doll.
Oh, yes.
I thought that would be fun, like a Krampus type house with the cute and creepy elements of it. Another pick I had would be Candyman. There is yet to be a haunt based on Candyman, so that'd be cool to see with the new film coming out. Maybe there will be. But
honestly, I totally expect that to happen with the new film.
With the new one, for sure.
I don't remember who's putting that out. If it's a Universal, I would bet money on it. But if not, I don't know. But yeah, I think we're gonna see some Candyman haunt action going on there. And my other pick there is, I don't know really anything about it. I just want to experience it because I love the main character that has been flooding social media for the past few months. But a haunt based on the new Resident Evil game with the giant vampire lady with the claws. The game,
James, I know why you want to have a maze of that.
I'm not hiding it. I want it. Yes. And I looked it up. I had to look up today. The game is called Resident Evil Village. So yes, let's do a Resident Evil Village. Then they did a Resident Evil house before. At some point, I believe. Right?
They did that in Orlando. Yeah.
Orlando.
So this would be Resident Evil 8.
Yeah. So
to my knowledge,
do it again. Yeah. Do it again with that crazy tall vampire lady. Make that happen.
Will do.
So there's that. And Shannon told me one, and I thought it might have been brought up, but it didn't. So I'm going to speak on her behalf. And I don't think we'd mention on this episode, but Shannon's my partner. But anyways, is Midsummer. I think that.
Oh my God! I almost put that on my list.
I almost put it on my list too.
I almost put that on my list because of how visceral it is.
But I didn't, because there's like nothing really visually that's not pleasant until like towards the end.
Not even that. I just feel like the environments aren't conducive to a haunt, but the visuals of like a lot of the gruesome kills are.
They are, but they're not until like way at the end.
Well,
that's true. But I mean, like the storyline doesn't necessarily have to like
follow.
It doesn't need to follow that, so they could
film,
you know summarize it pretty quickly.
I think our brief discussion about this, because I had a similar reaction first, was like, I don't know about those environments, but I think it's the contrast of like, what if you like went into a house that looked like at first glance it was all bright and colorful, but then you start looking between the lines and you see these creepy drawings and just things aren't quite right, so it's a little slow burn, and then it gets to the more gruesome kills, and of course the bear suit on fire would be the grand finale of that.
I'm not drinking anything, and I'm not eating anything as I go through that maze. Just saying, just putting it out there.
Okay,
not gonna do any of that.
Well, I think I feel like that could happen, maybe, but who knows?
Yeah, no, like you could even like have like an area you're walking through where it's like a garden on one side and then there's like a foot sticking out. Like, and just just like little things like that. Like you said, like hints, just out of the ordinary.
You could have some of the rooms have like map projection to make it look like it's kind of warping, almost like you're tripping on some type of mushrooms or something.
Or they could actually give you drugs.
Or they could just give you drugs. While you're at it, might as well just have an orgy with a whole bunch of naked ladies around you chanting.
Yeah.
Might as well just do that too.
How about that scene's going to be great in the haunt.
Yeah.
The most terrifying of the terrifying. Yeah, that movie's pretty intense in certain ways. But yeah, no, that's an interesting one. Thanks, Shannon. I'm not shocked that she chose that. An A24 film from Shannon.
Yeah, no,
not shocked.
That's she's obsessed with it. She loves it. So,
but nightmarish conjurings, people. Anyway, Nikki, what are your runners up?
Okay, mine are 28 Days Later.
That's a good one.
Because it's just gnarly fun.
Rage zombies.
Yeah.
The music, too. I feel like the sound design would be cool in that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you just start out, like, with him in the hospital, and then you could, the first few scenes could be, like, nothing, like, just creepy emptiness and, like, quiet, and then all of a sudden, zombies! My next one is Shaun of the Dead.
Yes, because they did a scare zone of that. They should have done a house.
Yeah, no house. And it just kooky, fun, great soundtrack. So that's another one that I think would be super fun. And then my last one is also a fun one. And that's Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
I haven't seen that one. But...
James,
my gosh,
you need to watch it. It's
go
so
watch
good.
it. It's hilarious. It's like these I'm not good at synopsis.
So essentially what the movie is basically turning the, the stereotypical hillbilly murderer on it, trope on its head, where Tucker and Dale are these kind of hillbilly characters.
But they're not evil.
But they're super nice, like good human beings. And these teens show up and think that they're trying to murder them. So these kids start accidentally killing themselves around them.
Like
the rest of the kids keep thinking that they are killing them.
One kid is trying to run away from Tucker and Dale, and he falls into a wood chipper.
He jumps into a wood chipper.
Yeah, and
he
then
tries to pull him out of it, and the kids wander up, and all they see is him holding this guy's legs in a wood chipper.
But he was
so
like
they
helping
think he's trying
him.
to kill him.
So that's the whole movie. Like, there's no bad guy. It's just two sides seeing different perspectives. There's a lot of gnarly kills, which would translate well to a maze, and it's just super fun.
Yeah, and if they did a Shaun of the Dead house, I would need to have a scene where they're looking out of the little mail slot, and he goes, "Are there any zombies out there?" It's like, don't say that. Say what? The Z word. Okay, fine. But are there any out there? No, I don't see any. I would need that scene.
Real fast, I wanted to ask. I don't remember a scare zone of Shaun of the Dead. When was that, or in which park?
So Shaun of the Dead was a scare zone on the New York street in Hollywood. I would say, what year was it? I'm having a hard time placing what year it was. I'm almost certain it was the same year where La Llorona had a scare zone on the back lot, like on the actual tram tour.
Okay.
But I don't remember what year that was. Maybe it was 2010. I don't know. Don't quote me. But it was a year. It was just one single year.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't.
I don't know.
I wasn't living in the area during that time. So, but I did need to go. But I totally don't even remember hearing about that. But I think it's. I think having a like Shaun of the Dead house as a comedy house. Would be great. I know they tried to do a comedy house, which was a little bit of a miss when they did This Is the End.
Yeah, and I was thinking of This Is the End when I had this on my list, but I feel like Shaun of the Dead is just better base material to begin with.
It is. There's a lot of visual humor that could be incorporated in visual gags and stuff like that. I mean, you have the zombie who's Bowser with the shaking and the barking this episode.
Bowser, you're disruptive.
He's stuck on the zombie stuck on a pole, or you have his roommate who's the naked zombie inside of the shower. You have the zombie who has the record stuck in his face.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those things. I mean, and with the scare zone, they basically had Sean running around with like a cricket bat, and Ed was on a leash with him, who was a zombie, and they had other various zombies that were from the movie as well. So you had like the record and face zombie and stuff like that. So
okay.
But yeah, no, those are good runners up. I like that.
Cool.
So these were lots of really good ones. I actually really like all the ones that we chose for this one. So anybody who's listening, if you liked any of these, let us know which one you would like to see as a Halloween Horror Nights style maze. James, thank you again for joining us. Please let everybody know where they could find you.
Sure thing. I could be found, or the Creepy Kingdom stuff could be found on all the social media platforms at Creepy Kingdom. We have podcasts, we do live streams, we do reviews, we make films, all the things, and it's all they're waiting for you. At Creepy Kingdom, and you could also follow me on Instagram and Twitter at James H. Carter 2, the number.
Very nice. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll have to do a part 3 in another 3 years.
I was literally about to say, well, in 3 years, let's see how many of these came to be.
Yeah, we have to revisit.
I mean, that's part of the fun, right? Is trying to predict. So, I mean, who knew 3 years ago when we said Beetlejuice that it was actually going to happen? So.
Yeah, that seemed like such a long shot.
But it really did, out of anything. I mean, if that was a long shot, I don't know what a Plan 9 from Outer Space is.
Keep my fingers crossed. Like, no, Gremlins. I mean, for real. Like, I think
that's the one that has the most legs to it. Like, the one that I think has the most opportunity to actually happen.
Yeah. There had to have been discussed. This has to have been on the table. Like, I feel it. I feel it can happen. Let's put the good mojo out there. Let's be able to get a Gremlins house.
I mean, if WD. WB did, if WB didn't go stop doing their event, I wouldn't be shocked if they did one because they had the Gremlins house there on the back lot that you could walk right by.
Yeah.
You know, they even had the music playing and shadows in the windows and such. So.
Yeah, the projections. That was a good little tease, but I wanna be in the middle of Gremlins chaos.
Exactly. That sounds like the best kind of chaos to be in. Other than the chaos of this show. So
well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
That was actually probably some of the most fun I've had on an episode in a long time.
Yeah, it was so fun.
Everybody had really, really, really good choices.
Except for Q.
I feel like James always kind of tends to choose things that are a bit different, which I appreciate. I totally appreciate
Definitely.
that. I mean, a Haunted Mansion type haunt experience sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be Haunted Mansion-esque because they have to do parody. But I mean,
what did he call it? Something scary house? Or
yeah,
something I forgot.
Something really generic. But yeah, no, we had a blast with James. So make sure everybody follows James at Creepy Kingdom and all over social media. We love him to death. But hopefully everybody had a blast listening to this episode and got people excited for no reason at all because none of this is probably going to happen.
Some might.
Some might. Who knows? In the future, when they run out of everything and then they redo Texas Chainsaw Massacre again.
Come on, Cube.
Come on, Cube. But before we go, we teased at the beginning of the episode that we had some very exciting news, and this is the moment, people. We have surpassed 100 reviews on iTunes.
Yes!
Big day for us, and that is a really big milestone for us, so thank you, everybody who's ever left us a review. Obviously, it's kind of the negative reviews, too, so thank you, I guess.
That's what I was going to say. Mostly positive.
Mostly positive, which...
One of those is mine.
You're not supposed to say that, Nikki.
Oh, sorry.
You're not supposed to say that. That's an inside thought.
I left a glowing review.
You said the quiet part really loud. You said the part you're not supposed to say. But that's fine. We'll let it go. I'll let you live.
Who cares?
Hey,
do. Twitter poll. This is only for podcasters. Did you leave yourself a review?
Of course they did.
The answer is yes. Everyone does it.
Everyone does it.
Yes. Gabe,
everyone does it. Nobody talks about it.
Have you read the book called Everybody Poops?
Yes. I particularly remember it ending and saying that buttholes are a lie.
Oh.
Yeah. Shock ending, right?
I think you read the unabridged version. But there should be a book for you called Everybody Leaves Themselves a Review.
You might not be wrong.
Yeah.
You might not be wrong. But, so we've gotten 103 reviews, so we've well surpassed 100. And we actually got a new written review that we want to read out here. And it's from HB Sprite, and it says, "Great chemistry. These guys get it. They are regular people like you and I. They share their love of amusement parks in a genuine and unpretentious way. I like that they are based in Southern California, so we are unpretentious. Thank you."
I am definitely unpretentious.
We are 100% unpretentious. We are the literal antithesis to pretentiousness. So that's good.
Yes.
But we've reached 103 reviews, and I do want to give a huge shout out to everybody who's kind of left reviews in the last couple of days. If you are at all familiar with the drama that was happening on Twitter recently, there was a lot of podcasters that got spammed with negative reviews for standing up for people and saying the right thing. And it was really unfortunate, but everyone kind of banded together and supported each other and wrote reviews for everybody or gave people reviews. And that seems to kind of really what happened on our end too. So we actually dropped down from 5 out of 5 to 4.5 out of 5 because of those negative reviews.
Yeah.
And now that we've gotten these good ones back, we've bounced back up to 5 out of 5.
Yay.
So big shout out to everybody who's who left us a review to bring us back up in the standings that way, because that means a lot to us, because we put a lot of love and care into the show, even though sometimes when we talk about silly things it seems like we don't, but we really do, and we appreciate everybody who listens and enjoys this absolute nonsense that we do here. So thank you again for everybody, and like I said at the beginning, if you haven't already, make sure you head on over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star written review. Brings us up higher in the standings and makes it easier for everybody to enjoy our nonsense like you are right now. But that brings us to the end of the episode, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into this crazy whirlwind of an episode. It was a long one.
It was. And then we also
long
talked
one there.
about news for a while.
Yes, we did. When we get passionate, we talk a lot.
That's true.
That should be the name of the podcast. Passionate Talkers.
And tangents.
And tangents. Passionate Talker Tangents. PTT.
I guess that works.
Yeah. What? It doesn't work?
I don't
think
know.
It works.
I was just trying to think of something. No, never mind.
Fair enough. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Make sure you're following us on social media, everybody. You can follow us at Theme Park Duo on pretty much every platform. If you look at YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and or Instagram, just search Theme Park Duo. Search Theme Park Duo, you'll find us. Now, if you want to reach out with a topic that you want to hear on the show, something you want to hear us talk about, somebody you want us to interview for us to try to get, anything at all, questions, comments, concerns, you can always direct that at
themeparkduo@gmail.com.
Yes, and once again, thank you for tuning in and enjoying our nonsense, everybody. And always remember, there's always a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. See ya!
Thanks for riding with the Theme Park Duo. Make sure to gather all your belongings before the end of the podcast. Bye-bye.